It's a wonder more of Grimm's fairy tales aren't made into horror movies. Those were quite gruesome and downright scary at times. Today's number 5 pick is a retelling of a classic fairy tale told from a different perspective, an ugly perspective. This is M.L. Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown, picking the best horror movies released between October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. The Ugly Stepsister, aka Den STYGGE was released on April 18th, 2025, and is streaming on Shudder from IFC Films. It's directed and written by Emilie Blichfeldt. I understand that Cinderella was first a folktale first conceived in Greece from ages ago, but most likely you know the story because it was made into a Disney movie in 1950. And since horror-themed remakes are all the rage, one might think that a film like The Ugly Stepsister would be some kind of rushed cash grab akin to those Winnie the Pooh and Steamboat Willie films. But it turns out that The Ugly Stepsister is actually an original, dark twist on a classic fairy tale. Rebecca, played by Anne Dahl Torp, is a gold-digging widower who catches the eye of a seemingly wealthy lord. With her 2 daughters, Elvira, played by Leah Myron, and Alma, played by Flo Fagerli, Rebecca quickly marries the Lord and moves into the castle with the Lord's daughter, Agnes, played by Thea Sophie Loch Ness. But soon Rebecca finds out that the Lord is broke, and soon after the Lord dies, leaving her with all of his debt. With Prince Julian, played by Isaac Kalmroth, seeking to wed someone soon, Rebecca goes about making her daughter Elvira beautiful enough for him to marry by any means necessary. While the fairy tale of Cinderella was a tale of inner beauty despite one's station in life, The Ugly Stepsister tells the same type of Cinderella tale from a different perspective, that of Elvira's. By shifting the perspective, we see Elvira in a newer, more positive light, at least at first. So when she arrives at the castle, it's Agnes who makes Elvira feel unwelcome and inferior. And therefore, we feel for Elvira, whereas in the original fairy tale, she is simply a despicable character in the way of Cinderella's aspirations to marry the prince. Elvira plays the same role, but by taking the few steps back from the story and starting a bit further back in time, it shifts the way you see things. That's not to say Elvira turns out to be a likable character. Once the process of her beautification begins, we're shown a much more cruel and selfish side to Elvira. But the thing is, you can't really feel for Agnes in this story either because of the way she treated Elvira at the beginning of the film. This makes for a conundrum as there turns out to be no likable characters to be found in The Ugly Stepsister. I'm sure in an Americanized version of this story, Agnes would have been made much more pure, but this Norwegian film makes things more complicated than that, giving a rather critical slant towards both of the women who are basically seeking to marry the prince for his money and power. This shift proves to make the film a battle between 2 women, and one of them, Elvira, will stop at nothing, even utterly destroying her own body in the process to get what she wants. In comes the body horror, and man is this film filled to the gullet with it. While some of the concepts may have been addressed before in terms of the barbaric ancient medicines used in the past to strive for ultimate beauty, never has it been presented in a more disgusting, decadent, and despicable way. By the final reel, the lengths Elvira goes to get her man is absolutely unimaginable. There's one sequence towards the end where Elvira attempts to undo what has been done to her that you simply can't unsee after watching. It's heinous and nauseating and tragic all at once. It's the type of sequence that'll make you leap from your chair and walk it off after seeing it. No details, I don't want to spoil it, but it is that bad, which for me, and my fellow gorehounds out there, I know who you are, is so good. Leah Myron does a fantastic job of playing Elvira. She presents as sympathetic and underdog when we first meet her, but she shifts from unlikely hero to monster with ease. It's a physically demanding performance, one that requires a lot of spunk and selflessness to get right. It's amazing seeing this transformation from maiden to monster, and you're going to wonder if it really is the same actress after all of these changes are made to her. It makes me wonder what writer-director Emilie Blichfeldt was trying to say with The Ugly Stepsister. It's not completely clear. I believe it may be a moral story about aspiring towards the wrong kind of goals, or maybe it's about the least of two evils coming out on top, or most likely it's just a clever and painfully visceral way of retelling an age-old story in the freshest of takes. The Ugly Stepsister is often excessively decadent, disgusting, and aggressively so. The level of extravagance is bent and twisted to show the uglier side of this lavish and proper life. Seeing the physical training and medical torture Elvira goes through to simply gain power and fortune truly highlights how some people can be overcome with such temptations. Seeing Rebecca toss all concern for her well-being of her daughter for riches is not unlike the beauty pageant moms or the reality star wannabes we see in today's culture. There's an ugliness to this movie that is overwhelming at times, from the heinous body horror to simply the way people treat one another. It's quite the comment on how little some can care about others when fame and fortune is on the line. In the end, The Ugly Stepsister is a grotesque mirror held up to the human condition, lampooning our obsession with fame and fortune in the most surreal and disgusting of ways. There are scenes of body horror that are surely going to nauseate, but the true horror in The Ugly Stepsister lie in the multiple characters who think so much about themselves that it rots them from the inside. This is a fantastic movie that's going to leave its mark, and I recommend it wholeheartedly, but it's not for the squeamish. This modern retelling of a classic fable is smooshed through a horror lens. Today's worth noting is Bambi the Reckoning. It's new on demand at Amazon from ITN Distribution. It's directed by Dan Allen and written by Rhys Warrington from a novel by Felix Salten. A giant deer is irradiated by spilled toxic waste and attacks a mother and son on their way to a family dinner in the woods. Meanwhile, the rogues who spilled the toxic sludge are trying to cover up their mistake by taking out the irradiated animals in the forest. This doesn't sit well with the giant horned deer named Bambi. Yeah, the one from the old Disney cartoon. Oh dear. I mean deer. Is it possible the folks behind the Pooh, Blood and Honey universe has actually made a good movie? Apparently so. Now, Bambi the Reckoning is not going to change the face of cinema as we know it. It's a typical monster movie inspired by an all-ages story. Sure, using radioactive waste as the cause for Bambi's monsterification might be cliched as all get out, utilizing the monster tropes used all the way back to the 1950s, so it's a tried and true concept, at least, and this time it works. Usually in this type of low-budget film, the effects can hardly be called inspiring, but the titular beast is rendered quite well. Any inconsistencies or shoddy CGI is smartly covered in shadow, making the monster deer look all the more formidable and intimidating. The film really gets a lot of bang for its buck, get it, buck, as it highlights a ton of monster deer action as it smashes through houses, pursues people through the woods, and beheads people with its horns formidably well. This is one scary deer. The rest of the film is pretty okay. Like the original Bambi tale, it's about a mother and child attempting to save its family, but realizing that to grow up, you have to leave your parents behind. These themes permeate Bambi the Reckoning as a mother and child flee the deer, and the thugs trying to cover up the mess, and that child having a coming-of-age moment in the process. It's not high drama, but it's much more than I expected from this movie. The acting isn't excruciating either. In fact, Roxanne McKee is quite good as the mother. The rest of the cast aren't required to do much acting gymnastics, but they play their parts well, too. Color me surprised. I had a blast with Bambi the Reckoning. And if you go in like me, not expecting much, you're in for a hell of a fun monster movie. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your own favorite movies of the year. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.